This is another CQ Blind Hams podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the CQ Blind Hams Roundtable. My name is Joel. My call sign is W0CAS. I'm located in East Tennessee. My co-host today is Russ, KN4MLR. Good morning, Russ.
Oh, good morning, Joel. This is Russ, KN4MLR, and I'm located in Louisville, Kentucky, one of the southern states. And so I'll turn it back to you again.
All right, Russ. And today our guest is Ian Spencer, DJ0HF, and that makes me think you may be in Germany. Good morning, Ian, or good afternoon over in Europe.
Yeah, good morning, Joel, or good afternoon here in Europe. And I hope everything's okay. I seem to have a little problem with the internet there, so let's hope it doesn't drop out on us. Name's Ian Spencer, call sign's Delta Juliet 0 Hotel Fox, and I've also got a G call, G3ULO, Uniform Lima Oscar. And yes, I'm located near Cologne here in Germany.
Wow, that's cool. So you're from the UK and moved to Germany, or you just travel back and forth and got dual call signs?
We've lived in Germany for about 46 years now, so a very long time indeed.
Oh, that's very cool. My son, coincidentally, my son is a German teacher over here in, he's in South Carolina. So I've heard a little bit of the German language, but you didn't have a German accent whatsoever. So that's very cool. I love to hear the German language being spoken. Well, the reason you're here today is you are instrumental in putting a package together with the Open GD77 project, and that sort of was headed by Roger Clark down in the UK. I believe his call sign is VK3KYY, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Joel. VK3KYY Roger. He developed the original Open GD77 firmware, which made the GD77 a much better radio. Yes, Roger developed the Open GD77 firmware, which made the GD77 a much better radio than it was before. And in November last year, I contacted Roger about doing something for blind hams, introducing some voice prompts or some beeps. But he was very busy at the time putting other features in, and so we didn't get started with it until about a month ago. And since then, Roger's been developing a lot into the Open GD77, the voice prompts, the beeps, and I've been testing and giving him feedback and so on. I decided that it would be a good idea to put a package together, because most blind hams would love to be able to do everything on their own. That is, download the package, install the firmware, install the voice prompts, create a code plug to produce a package which had all those things in it, but with very detailed instructions.
Yes, and you did a great job. You have made a ton of blind hams very, very happy, and I've been reading the Active Elements forum, and there's a lot of encouraging words being given to you, and I would like to do also. We'll go over and let Russ. Russ, do you have any questions or comments for Ian right at this time?
Well, I was just thinking back to Ian said back in November, I think he originally contacted Roger. Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, but was there not a separate group, if you will? I think it was located here in the States in Louisville, Colorado. I believe his call sign was W0RMT. His name was Matt. I think they were kind of working a little bit on the speech prompts, but I don't know exactly where all of that went. But aside from that, I think it's a great idea that the speech packs are a separate package rather than putting them into the firmware, I believe, which was the original intent, that it would be part of the firmware. This gives changing speech or different languages a whole lot easier to manage rather than having to update the firmware just to get a different speech package. So that's I don't know if that was your idea or Roger's, but that was a great move. And I also think that it's great that you're putting together this package that it's sort of a one-stop shop where you can download everything at one time. And my hat's off to you for putting that together. I think that makes it so much easier for the blind ham, because not everybody is well versed in doing firmware updates or hunting things down, especially on GitHub. GitHub's a kind of a challenge to navigate. So I really appreciate the work that you did on these, getting the package together, and on your instructions. I was most impressed with how clear your instructions were. I think even if you think you know what you're doing, I would highly advise listening to those instructions. So back to Ian or Joel. I'll let y'all pick it up from here.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I know I took the MP3s and put them on the podcast, so someone can listen to the instructions and get an idea of what to do. And then also in the show notes, I put a link to your website. So whenever you update that package, you said you would be updating the instructions to match. So, but I did want to get the MP3s out just to let people get a sense of what to expect when they download the package. And if you do have a major update, then I can redo and upload the podcast again. Thank you very much for that. I would also, I think Gina did some help with the development and research or testing. M0EBP, I believe, is her call sign. Is that correct, Ian?
Yes, that's correct. And I got most of that, a few breakups here with the internet. But yeah, thank you for the comments, Russ. I don't know anything about RMT. I've not heard of him at all, so I don't know what he was doing. Yes, but what I'm trying to do is, by having one package, if anything changes in the package, the instructions change too. So if you download the package, you've got it all, and you don't have to worry, which means it's fine to put the MP3s up on the website for people to listen to. But if they're actually going to do it, they should download the whole package and use the MP3s or the PDFs from the package, because they will match exactly with what is in the package. Files separate from the firmware. There's German, Spanish, Italian, Brazilian, Portuguese, I think we've got, and quite a lot of others. And quite a few amateurs in the UK now have used the package to install everything on their GD77s, and so it does work. And they're having a lot of fun with their GD77s, and I've had positive comments that they prefer it to the 77S because it gives them so much more flexibility. Say, I have quite a lot of blind friends because I run the Reading Rattle group, which reads the magazines each month. Just wait for the internet. The group reads Radcom, Practical Wireless, Radio User, CDXC Digest, Keynotes, Sprat, and so the blind amateurs in the UK get their magazines every month. Back to you then.
Wow, that's I've heard of Reading Rattle, and I saw it on the Active Elements. I wasn't aware of what it was. Man, you guys have an amazing group of magazines that helps out, and that's awesome. I had a question and I forgot. It slipped my mind. Russ, do you have anything?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask Ian if he is involved in the actual production of the voice packs, and if so, what is just give us a thumbnail sketch of what is involved in creating a voice pack for the GD77.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I can't do it all here directly now because I've only been involved in parts of it. But I know on the forum, if you look in the section in the forum for sight impaired, on the forum, Roger has given all the directions of how you do it. But basically, we have OGG files, which have been downloaded from a translator program on the internet, and then they're converted then with Ambi into the speech files for the GD77. Mostly it's been done by Roger, but I've been helping him with some of the languages. We've had a lot of problems with making sure things are really clear. So very often D sounded like B, so you couldn't tell the difference, or T. And so some of those letters have been very, very difficult to do in some of the languages, and I've been helping him with the German. But I think, although there are quite a lot of voices now, there's usually 2 or 3 for each languages, there are at least 1 or 2 which are pretty much perfect, hopefully.
Wow, that's encouraging. I'm looking forward to getting mine. Russ has his working. He just got one from Radioddity and has uploaded the firmware and got it working. It works great, doesn't it, Russ?
It does. Again, your instructions helped out quite a bit, especially with the CPS. I think there have been a couple of comments here on the Blind Hams Talk group about how to edit the CPS, and had it not been for your instructions, I would have been stuck on the editing, on trying to edit channels and talk, or zones rather. But excuse me, one of the things that I found out that I hope no one takes this to the bank, so to speak, but it seems that the JAWS scripts that were written for the original GD77 CPS also work with the Open GD77 CPS. You do have to connect, so to speak, the program to the scripts, which I don't want to go into any detail on it, but by surprise, I just went ahead and tried it out, and the Open GD77 CPS now works virtually identical to the original 77S CPS. So the tree is available, it's all visible. So I'd like to test that out a little bit further, but that was a real plus there, that Roger was able to duplicate that the CPS so closely to the original that the scripts work. So just throw that out as a little teaser. Back to you, Joel.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, because in fact we had quite a lot of problems with the CPS. The Open GD77 CPS at the beginning, there were at least 2 or 3 places in the procedures where a blind hand would hit a brick wall, because you just couldn't get access to certain buttons, radio buttons, which meant some things were impossible. But fortunately, I explained to Roger what the problem was, and he fixed it. As we've got it now, it really works very well. And I tested it all. You're going to hate me for this. I tested it with narrator. And if it works with narrator, it'll work with anything.
Oh, narrator's pretty good now, from what I understand.
Yeah, I tested it with narrator, and then of course I had Gina, who uses JAWS, and she was my big blind tester, because obviously I can see, and so she realized things that I didn't. But I had a lot of fun, because I can touch type, carrying out the procedures with my eyes closed. But it wasn't easy.
No, that's the way. Or turn your monitor off. That's another way of of testing a screen reader, but for a sighted person. But very good.
Wow. And so we're going to record. We're going to record this, of course, and we're going to put it on the CQ Blind Hams podcast and the CQ Blind Hams YouTube channel. And I'll have in the show notes, we'll have a link to Ian's website where you can download the package. I downloaded it yesterday I re-downloaded it, because did you have like you said, Murphy got you one time and you had a little glitch and you had to re-upload it. Could you tell us about what time that was, so if anybody had it before that, they can re-download it?
Unfortunately, Roger had sent me a new version of the firmware with quite major changes on the day that I was putting the package up on the site, which made things very difficult. And so there were 1 or 2 nasty bugs, things I said in the instructions which didn't work because the package had changed. My recommendation would be, if you haven't used the package yet, to download it today, because it really now is in a final form, hopefully. Because people picked up small mistakes which weren't very serious, but which I've then corrected. So I say, if you haven't done it yet, if you haven't used it yet, it really is now in its final form, unless we get a major update from Roger.
I was wondering, when I downloaded it, it just, I think it said Open 77 on the file name of the folder. I was just wondering if you've thought about putting a date on that as sort of a numbering system. So if somebody's got the package and they look at the date on the folder and says, okay, this folder's is newer, then it's a newer package. Have you ever considered that?
Yes, I have considered it, and I will do it, I think. The reason I haven't done it so far is because we were in the first 2 days of the package being released, and people were coming back with comments, could you make that clearer? Could you do this? Could you do that? That doesn't seem to work because of the changes in the firmware. And as I say, if there is a major update, I will make it clear in the file name.
Ian, real quick before I forget the question, are there any other, are all menus available now with the with speech? Are there still other areas of the Open GD77 firmware that have not been connected for the blind user? The last time I read something about that there are still more menus that need to be made available. I don't know if that is still the case or if this is truly complete.
Okay, if I can answer that. If you download the version that's there now, it's pretty much complete.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Included. Yeah, Roger has included nearly all the menus now. Almost everything is voice. There may be 1 or 2 small things, but almost everything.
Oh, that's wonderful. It is an amazing project. Again, my hat's off to everyone who was involved in it. That it's beyond my comprehension of how you can write an OS from scratch and make it all work as well as it has. It is working. So.
One question I have, did I see that software, firmware, works on other radios, like the Baofeng and one of the TYTs? Is that correct?
It is correct, yes. It's the 1801 and the RD5R, I think. But I don't have them myself, so I can't say how well it works. And I know that Roger hasn't spent so much time on those, so it may not be quite so stable. But it does also work. There's a version for the 77S, which people might not now want to use because I think the 77 is so much better. But some people who have now got the 77 are using their 77S as hotspots because the firmware includes a hotspot mode, and so you can connect it to Pi-Star. And you can have Pi-Star running on a Raspberry Pi or on a Windows machine, connect the 77S or the 77 with a cable and use it as a hotspot.
Wow, yeah, that's an easy way to get a hotspot if you've got a Pi, and you got a Raspberry Pi for what, $30-$35, and you got the cable that comes the programming cable is what you use, I'm assuming, to connect from the radio to the Raspberry Pi. Oh, that's cool. That's great. I've got 2 GD77Ss, and I have a GD77BB. I'm not sure if you've heard of that radio. I found it on the website, on Radiolity's website one day, and I said, I would like to have one of those because I've got just a little bit of vision. And I thought with a magnifying glass, the BB means black background. So the normal 77s have a white background and a black text, I think, or blue text, and the one I have has a black background and white text. So I want to be attempting in the next day or so of putting the new Open 77 firmware on it and giving it a go. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, of course, though, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but the hotspot can run 5 watts, of course, so you could hit it from 10 kilometers away.
You could put an external antenna on it and basically have a repeater, kind of, wouldn't you? A DMR repeater.
Yeah, I'm not sure how legal all that would be, but it's technically possible.
You got any more questions, Russ? Or Are you still with us, Russ? Do you have any questions for him, Ian, while we have him?
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I cut out my mic because my beagle was howling at something out there. So I don't know if it got through or not. So that's why I muted it just to make sure. But no, I have what I need to do now is become more familiar with my new radio. But yeah, I can't tell you how much everyone appreciates the work that you've done on it, and especially Roger Clark. But yeah, it's been an enormous improvement, and what an undertaking! That was quite a project.
It really, really is, and we sure appreciate it. Go ahead, Ian, and if you got anything else that you want to add to what we've got.
No, I don't think so. I just thank everybody for all the really good wishes and thanks that I've received. It's made the whole thing really worthwhile, and I know Roger appreciates it too. And it was quite a big project. Both the firmware is a very big project, but that's all the thanks go to Roger. But it was quite a big project putting all the instructions and testing and everything together. But I think it was worthwhile, and I'm really pleased when as many people use it as possible.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't have a Kenwood THD74A, but now, I mean, that's a $400 to $500 radio, and this is a $100 radio, and it seems to me that the Open 77 has made this radio as accessible as the Kenwood THD74 Alpha. It's the Echo version in the UK, but I know the radio is probably a much better hardware for Kenwood, but you kind of get what you pay for. But this makes the 77, I think, as accessible as the 74A. What do you think, Ian? Do you believe, or do you have a 74 Echo?
No, I don't have one, but I do know it, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, my opinion is, especially for DMR, okay, there isn't anything better, I don't think, than the 77 now with this firmware. And I've used several different radios on DMR. Of course, it's got its limitations. The receiver in the Radio Odyssey is not the best one in the world, but if you're using it with a hotspot or with a repeater in a sort of sensible range, it works just fine.
Yeah, it does. There's decent radios. I don't know if you heard, but I had one Radio Odyssey analog, a dual band analog. It's the GS5B, and it's rugged. It's a really rugged, hefty dual band 2 meter, 70 centimeter analog radio, and it's rubberized on the corners. It's got a screw that holds the battery in with a gasket, so it's sort of water resistant, and it receives awesome. And it's got a good speaker. It sounds really well. So I'm hoping Radio Oddity's kind of up in their game. And this is I think it's a Baofeng killer because it's a much tougher radio than a UV5R. It's about $100 radio though, so there again, it's like the Kenwood. You kind of get what you pay for as far as hardware. And I just want to let everybody know that Radio Oddity does make some decent equipment.
One thing that I wanted to comment is that I think it was a smart move on Roger Clark and the group to write the firmware from scratch, so that if Radio Oddity does an update to the firmware, it doesn't break everything that they did. And sort of like with the Tatera MD380 and the TYT tools, this wouldn't be as much of an issue. Just an observation.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I use the MD380 with tools here. It's a nice thing, but yeah, the Open GD77 is in another league.
Yeah, plus it's a dual band radio, and that just a lot of repeaters over here are UHF, and now we're getting more and more VHF DMR repeaters. So, it's hard to have two radios if you got the MD380 to cover both, UHF and VHF. And so, man, we just want to thank you. I can't say thank you enough. I mean, there's so many people that's already has it. We have probably 5 or 6 that we talk to on a daily basis that's purchased the radio and got the tool and has the firmware working. And we got probably a dozen more that has radios on the way. Russ was lucky. How long did it take you to get yours, Russ, from China?
I think it was about 5 days. And I don't know, I must have won the lottery, but I couldn't believe it came in that quickly. But Radiodity is obviously shipping everything from Hong Kong now. So I've heard, 2 weeks delivery ranges all over the place. But sometimes you just got to get lucky. So, and I did.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody ordered a battery. I think it was Bob KDLR ordered the radio and a battery, and I think they run out of batteries, so the extra batteries. So that's not a good thing. I'm glad I got 2 extra batteries from last year because I'm crazy like that. I buy a radio, I buy a battery, and I buy 2 radios, buy 2 batteries. So hopefully they'll get the production back up and running. I know with the virus has slowed everything down to a crawl. I know China was shut down for a month or so, and that's going to hurt the supply chain. But once everything gets back up and running, we'll be able to get the radios, and everybody will be on DMR, and that's a great thing. Ian, before we go, you got any last comments? I appreciate you coming on with us, and we'd love to hear you back on again if you ever want to.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I do thank you very much for giving me the chance to explain what the package is about.